What's going on, guys? Tyler here from Don'tPanicDoThis.com, the site all about helping you to beat your panic attacks and anxiety. Today we're going to be talking about tonsure phobia, also known as haircut anxiety or the fear of getting a haircut, and we're going to cover 14 different ways that we can stop a panic attack during a haircut or at the barbershop. Now, this might sound strange to some people who have never felt anxiety while getting a haircut, but actually it's pretty sensible to feel uncomfortable during a haircut. This is because of a number of reasons, including claustrophobia and social anxiety. You have somebody in your space for about an hour, sometimes with a razor on your neck. It can definitely cause anxiety in the best of us. So in this video, like I said, we're going to cover 14 different ways that we can minimize this haircut anxiety so that you can be more comfortable going to the barbershop and getting a haircut. Let's get right to it. The first step here, guys, is to try to understand why you're anxious about this haircut anxiety in the first place. Why is this entire situation stressing you out? So here's where we get right down to basics. This is why I always recommend people check out the site, check out other videos that we have here on the channel, and just learn the basics of anxiety and how to manage panic attacks in general. This is really important because it's helpful to identify not only the source of your anxiety, so what is it about getting the haircut that's causing you to feel anxious? Is it because you have panic disorder and frequent panic attacks and you're afraid of having a panic attack and embarrassing yourself? Is it the social anxiety aspect of just having someone in your personal space? Is it the claustrophobia of knowing that somebody's just, that you're kind of in this one little tight thing with a gown around you in a chair for an hour? Is it agoraphobia? Are you afraid of leaving your house and actually going to the barbershop itself? Did you have a bad experience at a barbershop in the past? These are all things that are important to try and figure out because it's going to affect how you actually go about dealing with your anxiety going forward in the future through exposure therapy, which we talk about in other videos. Now, I really recommend starting with the basics here, learning the source of your anxiety, what anxiety is, why we're feeling it. Once you do that, it's going to be easier going forward once you understand that root cause of anxiety. Tip number 2 is basically pretty general to panic attacks overall, but I want you guys to remember a few important things about panic attacks. 1, this is temporary, and 2, this is not dangerous. So a panic attack, if you've had them before, you know that they really only typically last from 3 to 10 minutes and then it's over. Some can last longer, but on average, I would say about 3 to 10 minutes is normal for a panic attack. Also remember, they're not dangerous. If you had panic attacks before, it can feel like you're gonna die. It can feel like there's something wrong with your body or your brain or you're losing your mind. You just wanna run out and escape the situation, but it's important to remember that it's not dangerous. Keep reminding yourself of these facts, especially as your anxiety builds while you're sitting in that chair. If your anxiety seems to just be peaking to the point where you might be having a panic attack or you're in the midst of a panic attack, just keep reminding yourself of those simple facts. This is temporary and this is not dangerous. It's just a panic attack and it's going to pass. You're gonna be okay. Tip number 3 is also a pretty general one. After this, we're gonna get much more specific about haircut anxiety. But tip number 3 is still important, and it's to get your breathing under control. So during a panic attack or just instances of severe anxiety, one of the worst things that we do is we hyperventilate. We breathe way too much, way too rapidly, these shallow breaths. And when we do this, we're actually getting too much oxygen. We feel like there's something wrong with our breathing, like we need more air, and as a result, we're just breathing super rapidly in and out, and this is hyperventilation. We're getting too much oxygen and just throwing our carbon dioxide levels in our blood out of whack, and this exacerbates the feeling of our anxiety and worsens our panic attacks. What I want you to do instead, guys, is try to consciously, manually override your breathing. By doing this, you're going to be able to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is going to have the opposite effect of a panic attack. It's going to help to calm you down. And to do this, I really like a method called 4-7-8 breathing, which involves breathing in for 4 seconds through the nose, holding your breath for 7 seconds, and then exhaling for 8 seconds slowly through the mouth. While you do this, you're also going to want to be doing belly breaths. So make sure that as you inhale and exhale, your stomach is rising on the inhale and falling on the exhale. Don't just be breathing shallowly into your chest, but really try to feel it all the way down through your stomach. Do that belly breathing. By getting our breathing under control, guys, we're manually overriding this hyperventilation and just getting our breathing back on track. This might take a few cycles, a few repetitions, if you will, but it's going to pay dividends for you. It's going to help to calm you down much, much faster than if you just let your your breathing go completely uncontrolled, and eventually, your breathing will get back on track and it'll become an automatic thing for you again. Okay, tip number 4 here, guys, is to start by practicing. Practice letting your friend cut your hair, or even cut your hair yourself a little bit. Experiment a little bit. A lot of times it's hard to pinpoint exactly what the source of our anxiety is, but by doing this, we kind of engage a little bit of gradual exposure therapy here. We kind of are exposing ourselves to our fear. So you might be afraid of actually walking into a barbershop and having your entire hair cut over the course of an hour by a stranger. But could you let, for example, a friend cut your hair? Could you cut your hair, for example, by yourself? Whatever the source of your fear or anxiety might be relative to getting your hair cut, try to overcome it slowly by taking small steps. Maybe you can't step into a barbershop. Maybe right now stepping into a barbershop gives you a full-on panic attack. Okay, so just start a little bit slower. See if a friend can cut your hair. Does that freak you out? Does that still give you panic attacks? Okay, dial it back. Can you cut your own hair? Surely you could take a scissor and make a couple of snips. Where is the line at which your comfort zone stops? So what I want you guys to check out is, I have a little chart here I want you guys to look at. We want to be leaving our comfort zone. This is how we do exposure therapy. We want to expose ourselves to our fears in small doses. So you want to be leaving your comfort zone, but not throwing yourself so far into your fear that you're hitting that panic zone and having a panic attack. Just a little bit of discomfort is actually a good thing. That discomfort is our growth zone. So identify your growth zone, figure out what you are comfortable with, and just take a step right outside of your comfort zone. And over time, by doing this, it's going to minimize our fear, decrease our fear of getting haircuts, and just make it a little bit easier. So start by cutting your own hair or having a friend cut your hair and work your way up until you feel comfortable going to an actual barbershop for a haircut. Tip number 5 for beating haircut anxiety is to consider a barber who makes house calls. So here we're gonna build a little bit on the last step of exposure therapy. We're gonna wanna use a barber that makes house calls if your fear is actually being in the setting of the barbershop itself. Maybe you don't like everything going on in there. Maybe the barber is talking and laughing together. It just gives you some degree of social anxiety, or you feel a little bit trapped or out of place and you're not comfortable with that environment. Maybe it gives you a bit of agoraphobia, that fear of leaving the house. If that's the case, then we can start. One of our earliest steps can be to consider a barber who makes house calls. Most barbers will do this if you have some type of relationship with them already. But a lot of times, if you give them a call and you say, hey, what would be your rate for a house call? Do you guys ever do house calls? Barbers are typically pretty flexible and pretty ambitious to make money, and there will most likely be a higher rate, or you'll be expected to tip a bit more for a barber who's making a house call. But if that's within your comfort zone, and that's a reasonable step that you can take outside of your comfort zone into your growth zone, then I think that's a really good step to take. Reach out to barbers, see who does house calls if that's something that you're comfortable with, and later on we can work to getting into the actual barbershop or salon if that's a step you want to take in the future. Tip number 6 for beating haircut anxiety is going to be to take an anxiety supplement for it. Now, typically I advise against using anxiety supplements too much or using them on a daily basis, because I don't want this to become a crutch that you rely on. I feel the same way about medications and stuff like that. However, a haircut is something that you probably only need once, maybe twice a month for most people. Obviously that will vary, but you don't really need it that often. So I think that justifiably, it's reasonable to actually use an anxiety supplement depending on your anxiety level. So there's different things that you could use. If your anxiety is mild in nature, maybe passion flower tea would be enough. If it's a little bit more moderate, maybe something like kava. Or if it's a little stronger, maybe something like phenibut could help you with your anxiety for a haircut or something like that. I think it's better, we don't want to use an anxiety supplement as a crutch, but I still think it's better to use, if taking one makes the difference between you facing your fear and completely avoiding it and reinforcing that fear and making it worse over time, then I think it actually does make more sense to take that little edge. Don't totally rely on it as a crutch forever, but if it will help you take that next step into your growth zone, then I think it's actually a really good option. If you guys haven't already, I think we have a video up all about anxiety supplements, as well as on the website. On the website, I think that we have all kinds of different supplements for different situations that we recommend. But you don't want to use it as a crutch, but if it gets you into that growth zone, I highly recommend it. All right, tip number 7 that I have for you guys is to find the right barbershop or salon for you. So this is gonna vary greatly from person to person. We all have different preferences and we're all comfortable with different types of situations. For this reason, my recommendation, if you don't already have a barbershop that you enjoy going to or you're comfortable with, which you probably don't if you're watching this video, I recommend just doing a quick search online, find local barbershops or salons near you, and just go check them out. Walk in, look around, ask if they take walk-ins, or you can have small talk real quick. You don't have to commit to getting a haircut there. You can just walk inside and look real quick at how the environment is. And some things that you might want to look into is, are there TVs or music being played? For some people, this is going to help them relax, take their mind off their anxiety. I find it to be a good thing. Other people might find it more overstimulating. Can you identify the language that the barbers are speaking? I go to a lot of barbershops where they speak foreign languages. It doesn't bother me. I like learning different languages, so I kind of try to listen. I eavesdrop a little bit and try to pick up some of the things they're saying and learn. But you might not be comfortable with that. And if you're not, if you feel a little bit more social anxiety when people are speaking other languages around you, maybe you feel self-conscious or like they're talking about you, that's something to keep in mind. And you might want to go to a barber who speaks your own language predominantly in the barbershop. Also, how busy is the barbershop? Some people are going to prefer a lot of hustle and bustle, believe it or not. Other people are going to want more of a quiet environment. So you might want a busy place if you don't want the folk to feel like the focus is on you. Or if a busy environment is too overstimulating for you, then you might prefer a little bit of a quieter place. Also, you're going to want to think about the physical location of the barbershop. Is it a long drive from you or is it nearby? These are all things. Maybe that long drive is enough for your anticipation anxiety to increase and stress you out. Maybe you prefer something close by, or maybe you prefer a nice little long relaxing drive to kind of, to meditate a little bit on the way over. Whatever it is, everybody's going to differ. So I recommend just checking out a couple of different places and finding out which place really matches the vibe that you're looking for. Step number 8, now that we've found the perfect barbershop for us, or so we think, we're going to want to find the right barber at that barbershop, because obviously, there can be 6, 7 people cutting hair there at once, and you want to find the perfect barber or hairstylist for you, someone that you're going to feel really comfortable with. Now, something that I always do, I've moved around a lot. I've lived in a lot of different cities, but anytime I live somewhere for a while, I always try to be loyal and consistent with the barber that I go to. I don't want to cheat on my barber. I want to go to the same person. They know how I like my hair. I know that they cut the hair well. So I just feel comfortable going to that same person over a long period of time. Also, for anxiety purposes, you feel more relaxed and comfortable a lot of times with somebody that you're developing. It's not just a barber anymore. You talk every time you're there. They become your friend over the years. They know exactly how you want things done. If you are a little bit anxious, they know that you are an anxious person, and they're going to be sensitive to that for the most part. I've developed such good relationships with my barbers. I've even flown out. I as a gift for my barber's birthday one time, I even flew them out to visit their family as a birthday present. That's the kind of relationship that you can develop with your own barber. So my recommendation, the first time you go there, obviously you're not going to know anybody. Just go as a walk-in, take whatever barber's available or hairstylist available, and see how you like them. But also, look around a little bit, look on the wall, see the names of the different barbers. And if you see somebody else cutting hair really well, make a note of their name, and next time schedule an appointment with them and see how they cut your hair. Do this a couple of times until you try a couple of different people out. And once you find someone that you really, really click with, you say, wow, they cut my hair great. I was really comfortable with them. The conversation was good. You'll know that everything just was comfortable and just vibed well for you. Then you're going to want to start scheduling regular appointments with them, and then they'll kind of become more of your normal barber that you go to. They'll recognize you and they'll develop a relationship with you. But this is one of the best things you can do if you're anxious about getting a haircut. Just try to choose the right barber for you or the right hairstylist for you, and develop a relationship with them over time. It's going to take the edge off your anxiety massively. Tip number 9 for you guys is to decide between being a walk-in or actually scheduling an appointment. So if you already have a regular barber that you go to, it's probably easier just to schedule an appointment. But if not, or if your barber's a little bit more flexible, you might prefer just being a walk-in. Now, the reason I say to decide between the two, because obviously scheduling an appointment is a more reliable thing to do, but I know some of you guys, if you set a date that is firm and you have to commit to it, it might make you feel a little bit anxious or like you're being a little forced into a situation. You might prefer just, hey, you know what? I'm driving by. I feel good today. I want to walk in. That's an option as well. So think about what kind of person you are and how your anxiety operates. Are you somebody who is more anxious about having things like set and rigid in a plan? Or are you somebody who's more anxious about not being prepared, just walking in and there being a big line and now you're more stressed out, or your barber's not there or something like that. So figure out which kind of person you are. Are you somebody who wants to be a walk-in, or somebody who wants more of a scheduled appointment, a plan? And whichever is better for you, that's what you should go with. Tip number 10 is to talk to your barber or hairstylist. So what I mean by this is just one of the best ways to distract yourself from a panic attack or anxiety, especially during a haircut, is to just talk to the barber. They're doing this job all day. That's why most of the times when you're in there, they're chatting with their coworkers. They like talking to their clients for the most part. Some might be a little bit more on the quiet side, but this is something that you can figure out in that previous step where you're choosing a barber that you really vibe well with. So my suggestion here is just to talk to your barber or your hairstylist about anything. Small talk. You guys will typically go a few weeks without seeing each other. So, hey, whatever happened at your daughter's dance recital? How did that go? How was your Halloween party? Whatever it might be, these are opportunities for you to talk about things, catch up a little bit, and for the most part, the barber's gonna appreciate it as long as you're, I'm sure you're a decent conversationalist. You know how to talk to people. This is just going to be a good way to pass the time and pull yourself out of your own head and talk to somebody else, speed up the time a little bit as well. You can also talk, you can disclose your anxiety and say, hey, I'm a little anxious, so if I need a break, is it okay if I just tell you and I take a 2-minute break? I get anxiety sometimes when I'm getting my hair cut. That's okay. You're not going to be the first person that has come to them with this issue. Anxiety is very common. You're not going to be the first person to bring it up to them. You don't have to disclose your anxiety to them, but sometimes it can be helpful just to weight off your shoulders, just to let them know, like, hey, if I'm acting weird or I need a minute, this is why. And they're going to be understanding. Nobody's really a jerk about when people open up and they're honest about that stuff. People are typically understanding and ready to help. But like I said, you don't have to talk about that. Talk about anything you want. You don't have to bring that up. But any type of talking with the barber is going to just help speed things along, pull you out of your head, and minimize any panic attacks at the barbershop. Tip number 11 for you guys here is to use the music, the TV, or some other physical sensation as a focus object. So actually, this is sort of a type of meditation, kind of like a type of mindfulness meditation. I'm recommending that you choose a focus object and just kind of really hone your thoughts in on whatever that object or that sensation is. And anytime your thoughts start to wander away, or you start to think anxious thoughts or panicky thoughts, acknowledge the thought and then let it pass and go right back to focusing on whatever that focus object or that focus sensation is. So this can be something as simple as focusing on the TV, the game, or you could even just be watching it. But I mean, it can also be really helpful to be meditating on this stuff. Focus on the game on TV, focus on the music. You can close your eyes and just listen to the music, really try to feel the music and just hone in on that, focus on that. Something I do a lot is actually focus on the physical sensations. So like the feeling of the buzzer, the feeling of the razor, whatever it is, I really hone in and like imagine everything, even if I can't see what's going on, I'll kind of picture it in my mind's eye and use that as a focus object, and it's super, super effective to me. But anything can be your focus object. It can be something in the distance. It can be something that you hear, something that you smell even. But just focus on that, and anytime your thoughts start to wander down that anxious rabbit hole, just acknowledge your thoughts, reel them back in. That's mindfulness meditation for you in a nutshell, and we have plenty of other information, videos, articles, stuff like that for you to check out about that topic. Tip number 12 we're on, is to bring something to keep your hands busy. So this is sort of building on what we just mentioned before with the focus object. A lot of times we're just sitting still, and that can make us anxious in itself, cause that restless leg syndrome or that just fidgeting with our hands. Something that I recommend if you're sitting, if you have to sit still for so long in place, and that's the source of your anxiety, find some type of gadget that you can fidget with, a fidget spinner, a stress ball, anything, something that you can tactilely be just interacting with, that'll keep you a little bit distracted, or that you can just focus on. It might seem like a strange, silly thing, but it can help. We do have a section on the site about different kinds of gadgets that can help distract you from your anxiety, and that might be worth checking out for you as well. Tip number 13 is to ask for a bathroom break if you need a minute alone. So this is a little bit easier actually if you've already told your barber about your anxiety, but even if you didn't, you can still utilize this pretty easily. So what I mean here is like, in the middle of the haircut, if you're just feeling really anxious, it's okay to say, hey, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry about this, but I have to go to the bathroom. Or I'm really sorry about this, but my throat's really scratching me. Do you have a glass of, could I get glass of water? Can I step outside for a minute? Anything like that. This can buy you some time just to have a minute and regroup, because sometimes that's what we need during a panic attack, is just a minute to ourselves to regroup our thoughts, let these feelings pass, and get back to baseline, get back to normal. My suggestion for you and my challenge for you here is to use this thought. Know that you can always ask for a bathroom break or a glass of water and buy yourself that time at any point. Use that knowledge, keep it in your back pocket as a ripcord, a last minute resort, but hold off as long as you can. So if you really feel like you need to do it, still say, hey, how long can I challenge myself to wait? Like, I'm very anxious right now, and at any point I can ask for a bathroom break, but I'm gonna see how long I can go without it, because the longer you go without it, now you're really facing that fear and realizing how much you can get through it. And you're gonna feel so accomplished if you actually do manage to sit through the entire thing and resist asking for that break. It's gonna just help you beat that panic, that phobia even faster through that exposure therapy, just by knowing that you have the power to hold out and not pull the ripcord even when you really wanted to. And my 14th and final tip for you guys here is something that I loosely call the fish bag effect. It's basically just environmental acclimation. And what I mean by this is, I remember being a kid and my dad had a saltwater fish tank, and anytime he would buy a new fish, you can't just plop the new fish right from the bag into the water. That would cause it to be shocked and probably kill the fish, or at least be very bad for the fish. So instead what you do is you put the bag in the water and you just kind of let it sit there for a while. You let the temperature acclimate. You let the fish get used to the new environment while the temperatures balance out. Then you open the bag, you let the water mix, I think. I don't really remember. But eventually, you don't dump the fish right in, basically. You let the fish acclimate a little bit before it goes into the new tank. This is sort of how I feel when I enter an environment that makes me a little uncomfortable, and this might be how you feel as well when you're in a new or unfamiliar or uncomfortable environment like a barber shop if you have haircut anxiety. So what I mean by this is, you're kind of getting dumped right into this new environment, but think about the fish bag effect and think about, that 15 minutes or so of acclimation. Your body needs to acclimate to a new environment. Right now you're a little uncomfortable because you just entered this situation that makes you uncomfortable, but after about 15 minutes, I'd say, that effect's gonna wear off. I notice anytime I go into anything, whether it be a haircut, the dentist, an MRI, any of these weird claustrophobic settings where you're like, oh, I don't like this. After about 15 minutes, you're a lot calmer. That initial sense of panic, that initial sense of anxiety and discomfort kind of washes over, and you're just like, you know what? This isn't so bad. I can honestly say about 30 minutes into any haircut, I'm ready to fall asleep in the chair. I'm completely relaxed. I'm just zoned out. I'm no longer thinking about any kind of like, oh, I'm not comfortable with this situation. So remember that fish bag effect, and just remember, especially if you're feeling anxious in the first 5-10 minutes, just remember it's gonna get better as the haircut goes on. Try to get past those first 15 minutes or so, and your anxiety is probably gonna consistently decrease after that. Once you realize, okay, I'm acclimated, this isn't so bad, I can close my eyes, I can kind of just relax a little bit. So stick it out to the end, and I think you'll find that it's not so bad after that first couple minutes of acclimation. And that's it, guys. Those are my 14 tips for beating haircut anxiety. If this was helpful to you, or you know somebody with haircut anxiety that this could help out, please share it with them. If you like the video, please like, comment, subscribe. That's always super helpful and appreciated. And that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for sticking to the end, and I will see you next time.